When Grand Canyon gets brought up, this should be the first question that anybody asks. If the river cut the canyon, what cut the side canyon? Because they're just as deep and it doesn't have a river. And then also, why did the river cut through the plateau instead of flowing around it? And why did the river cut down into the hard crystalline rock of the inner gorge instead of getting wider like it should have into the softer sedimentary rock? And to answer all these questions, again, Grand Canyon is bulging and cracking 3 times. You got 2 huge lakes a mile in the air with tremendous potential energy. Grand Lake starts cutting between Vermilion Cliffs, and it cuts this funnel, goes down to the hard Kaibab limestone. It couldn't go any deeper, so it spreads out and makes this funnel that's 18 miles long and 12 miles wide. So that's a lot of sediment that's missing. So then that Kaibab limestone bulges and cracks, and then the water cuts through the crack and undercuts Hopi Lake. And so now you got 2 lakes that are catastrophically draining. This is how you get the great denudation. It's sheet eroding everything off of the Kaibab limestone, except for Cedar Mountain and Red Butte and a bunch of other places that are remnants of this. So then not only the Kaibab limestone bulges, but that whole area, the Kaibab Plateau, bulges and cracks. And then the water cuts through that crack, and it's cutting below the water table. So then you got water coming in from the side, which is bringing sediment with it. And that's why you get the side canyons. And then it cuts all the way down to the hard basement rock of the Grand Canyon. And there's nothing pushing down on it. So that rock bulges and cracks. And that's how you get the inner gorge. That's bulging and cracking 3 times. And contrary to what Jackson thinks, Thomas Chamberlain, he says that there should always be multiple working hypotheses. Otherwise, people will just memorize and conform instead of think critically. And my position is people should be able to think. They should be able to look at different theories and come to their own conclusion. Then again, the best place to do this is on page 247 of creationsciencecenter.org. Look at all the theories, look at all the features, and come to your own conclusion. Don't believe it just because I say so, but look at it and think about it and come to your own conclusion. Go into Real Science Radio, rsr.org, and listen to Grand Canyon Month and Walt Brown and Brian Nichol talk about how it couldn't have been millions of years and it couldn't have been the river, and other resources that I highly recommend. Number 3 there, Mission Imperative. That's Mike Snavely. Get this DVD. It's Grand Canyon Puzzle on the Plateau. That's a good intro to the Grand Canyon. And he talks about all those features of like Zion and Bryce that are part of Grand Lake. And then for your PhD in the Grand Canyon, go to Brian Nichol on YouTube, The Origin of Grand Canyon. Very well done, very well documented. A lot of the information, a lot of the slides are thanks to him. Then also his Genesis history, Mountains After the Flood. You're going to see that those layers bent while they were still soft because they didn't become metamorphic. And also go on to Grand Canyon trips. Creation Today had one. I went on it last year. It was great. You fly into Phoenix on Thursday, and then on Friday, you're on the river. And then on Friday, you're on the rim. Saturday, you're on the river. And it's so much fun. And then Sunday, I spoke at a church. And then I was on my way back home. So again, and then Starting Point project, they have one real similar. Plus, you get to go to Antelope Canyon. And then Mission Imperative has an 11-day safari going through all those different features, and he explains it perfectly with the hydroplate theory. Okay, so what do we do with all this information? Well, let's get it out there. This is your assignment. If you're convinced, or even if you're not convinced, if you want people to have an opportunity to think, go into National Park Service, nps.gov, go into Grand Canyon, and then you click Learn About the Park, go down to Nature, and then go over to Geology and click that button. Scroll all the way down to the bottom. You're going to see 4 theories that don't work, and it says, we will continue to learn. Well, let's give them something to learn, because at the bottom of the page, it says, was this page helpful? And I put no. I said, since none of the hypotheses work to explain Grand Canyon, please add the hydroplate theory's explanation. It logically explains many features, and see Brian Nichols' channel. So I encourage everybody to go onto this website, let them know their theories are a bunch of garbage. We want to see a theory that works, because this has happened before. They've taken out the Specimen Ridge plaque at Yellowstone. So if enough people point it out, it could change. We just want an opportunity to think. And then you go up to this one, Grand Canyon Geologic Formations. Scroll all the way down to the bottom, and there's that sentence that they hide really well, saying that they don't know how the river started, and they still awaits a clear answer. And then, was this page helpful? And you click no. And then you say, that's a false statement. There is a clear answer. The hydroplate theory logically explains the origin of Grand Canyon and the resulting river. See Brian Nichols' YouTube channel. So I encourage everybody to do that and get more and more informed. And basically, we just want people to think. Walt Brown, he says, widespread belief systems seldom change when frequently reinforced by influential institutions. Yeah, they seldom change when you're not allowed to think about anything else. Okay. And then he says, but when vast numbers of people realize they've been misled, an intellectual revolution begins.
30
And
seconds.
that's what's happening. We've been misled. Grand Canyon did not take millions of years. They should put other theories up there so people can think, and then take a look at see who steps up to the microphone. And I do thank Jackson for stepping up to the microphone. It's rather rare. So again, when this comes up again, if the river cut the canyon, what cut the side canyons? And why did it flow through the plateau instead of around it? And why did it cut down into the hard rock instead of wider? And so that's bulging and cracking 3 times. And this is how you get to help make a difference. Just go in there and put a comment in there. So you want to think. You just don't want to memorize.